Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Denise Gary Show. All right, so today we have teenagers that are standing on the streets preventing people here on Monday in Washington, D.C., getting from point A to point B. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The schools are now running amok, and they've got children out there on the streets in Washington, D.C., preventing traffickers from getting to work, from getting their children to school, people trying to make a doctor's appointment, get to the hospital, on and on it goes. So I just thought, to the teenagers, the students that are not in school today on Monday, that refuse to go to school, much like we saw last Friday. Well, what's the group called? These children have decided, because I imagine because of their teachers, and possibly these left-wing progressive parents that they may have told them that, we're already going to be dead. It's just a matter of time. But I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this has been said about planet Earth and people on planet Earth for a long time. I was going back and I was looking at something about what the Greenpeace, you remember Greenpeace? Greenpeace, the founding member of Greenpeace, all about the climate crisis. He says it's fake news. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The founder of Greenpeace, which is all about climate crisis, says it's all a phony fake news story. If you go to www.ff.org, ff.org/tag/climate-change, says Greenpeace founding member says that it's fake. So let me just share this with you. Patrick Moore, a founding member of the environmentalist organization Greenpeace, slammed climate alarmists for promoting a fake emergency. He says the whole climate crisis, as they call it, is fake science. There's no climate crisis. He goes on to say, in fact, carbon dioxide is the main building block of all life. We don't need to kill all the cows. We don't need to stop producing tires for cars. We don't need to end fracking and oil production. He says carbon dioxide is the main building block of life. He writes carbon comes from in carbon-based life, which is on land and in sea. Interesting. I don't have time to go through the whole story, but ladies and gentlemen, I just thought all of you might be interested to know that the leader of Greenpeace is now telling us it's a hoax. Then I wanted to share out that in California, right, the state of liberal progressivism. Now, in California this winter, despite all the conversation about warming, right? Everything's going to melt and we're all going to die because it's going to get too hot on planet Earth. That's interesting because here in California, the snowpack in the mountains of this state were 162% higher. Let me just say that again. That this last winter, 2018-2019, the snowpack was 162% higher than average, the fourth highest ever recorded in history. The annual measurement, according to I guess this was in February, February, March, says that the Sierra Mountains, that the average measurement this week states, according to the Department of Water Resources officials, that announced that a measurement of 106.5 inches of snow at Phillips Station, good for a snow water of 51 inches. I mean, California winter and early spring have been cold and wet. It's been the coldest in February in Los Angeles for over 60 years. So Los Angeles in 2018-2019 had the coldest winter in 60 years. Now, this is my question. If in California, our snowpack is 162% higher and LA County had the coldest winter on record in 60 years, how can climate change be affecting the weather? How can what this person where is it? The guy that started this whole ridiculousness called climate change. He says carbon dioxide is a main building block of life, but yet the progressives, the people on the left, say we've got to destroy anything that produces carbon dioxide. Now, I'm a political scientist. I'm not a scientist when it comes to the environment, but I'm just saying that if it was colder this year, as cold as it was 60 years ago, what is carbon monoxide, or what does carbon dioxide have anything to do? How does that have anything to do with anything? I also wanted to share this with you, that I remember reading that the polar bears were going to absolutely be extinct. Polar bears were going to be extinct by 2000. I read a report in March of this year, March 19th, 2019. It says, inconvenient, polar bear numbers may have quadrupled. What do you think about that? It says polar bear numbers could easily exceed 40,000 from a low point of 10,000 or fewer in the 1960s. So again, if in the 1960s we had fewer polar bears than we do today, what does that have to say about environmentalists who are suggesting that, my goodness, all these poor polar bears are going to be dead? I can't get excited about what these young people are doing out on the streets of DC. This is a report, by the way, that inconvenient polar bear numbers may have quadrupled. This is on a website called What's WATTS, What's Up With That.com. Again, this was from March 19th. I'm looking at another piece about the polar bear gate saga, how a picture is worth 1,000 words, showing that polar bears are anything but extinct. Also, NASA has just come out and admitted, now this report came out last month on the 30th of August, and it states here from the 30th of August that NASA admits that climate change occurs because of changes in Earth's solar orbit, not at all because we're driving SUVs or putting gasoline in our cars. And it talks about how in the year 2000, NASA published information on its Earth Observatory website that apparently seems to indicate that based on the tilting of the Earth's axis and orbital change, that this creates changes in our weather. It creates climate change. And it talks about on page 4 of page 6 that the Earth can shift on both its axis and its rotational orientation. And that at a higher tilt, the Earth's seasons become more extreme, and at a lower tilt, they become more mild. Interesting. Thought that was interesting. Also thought it was interesting that I've read that the changes in the environment amount to, basically, in terms of climate change, 0.3 of 1 degree, or 0.3 of a degree. So why are we going to allow, why are Democrats, my question is this, why would a Democrat vote for a liberal progressive because they're concerned about climate change. We know that the climate changes. The climate changes naturally. Naturally, scientists tell us that we go through, that the Earth, planet Earth, in the galaxy, what galaxy do we live in, ladies and gentlemen? We live in the Milky Way galaxy. And in our galaxy, Earth is orbiting, right? Earth is orbiting the sun. And during this time, scientists have suggested that over thousands of years, planet Earth in our Milky Way galaxy goes through climate cooling and climate warming, or global cooling and global warming, that this happens naturally. So if this is part of the natural flow of things, maybe we are going through a little bit of global warming. My producer told me today, he thinks we're going through global warming. I don't care. I think that ultimately we'll go back through global cooling, because there are scientists who are not liberal progressives that seem to suggest that, based again on the tilting of the Earth on its axis as it orbits in the galaxy, that there are changes that occur from warming to cooling and back again. So anyway, I thought that was interesting, and I just want to share one other thought. Charles Payne, who I respect, knows quite a bit about socialism and communism in terms of how socialists try to get control of the economy. And Charles Payne said this, and I quote, that this climate alarmists and environmentalists say that, they're really concerned about global warming, and that the United States needs to heavily tax the American people in order to end America's use of oil and gas and coal. But he says, and he makes a fabulous point. Check this out. If the United States only makes up 5% of the world's population, just think about this for a moment. If Democrats want to tax us into oblivion, the working class people of America, they want to tax us right into poverty, they'll be able to control every aspect of our life. Every aspect. Because they'll be pushing us towards an environment that does nothing to change any kind of climate or global warming. And I'll tell you why. So I wanted to look at the population of China. What did I do with that? The population of China. Oh, here it is. The population of China and India. Consider this. China is 1.42 billion people. Okay? So over 1 billion people live in China. In India is the second largest country by population in the world. They have, close to China, 1.35 billion. So if you want to put China with over 1 billion people and India with over 1 billion people, you've got billions of people, right? You've got a world that's polluting the environment. Now, if the United States population is only 327 million, which it is based on the last census report, if we've only got 327 million people, and China has over 1 billion and India has over 1 billion, what good is it going to do for liberal progressives to tax us into oblivion and take away our cars and our electricity and everything that the modern world is today? What good is it going to do for liberal progressives to end our modern day lifestyle when you've got over 1 billion people in China and 1 billion people of India who absolutely refuse to tax their citizens and are polluting what amounts to the whole world? What good is it going to do for 327 million people to be taxed into sheer poverty? Because the socialists will control every aspect of our life. My question to you today, and as these silly teenagers are blocking traffic in Washington, D.C., I'm thinking about the real threats to America today. So one thing I didn't talk about, meant to talk about last week, is that on September 11th, it was reported that United States fighter jets, warplanes, dropped 40 tons of bombs. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, I've asked my producer to put up a video clip. U.S. warplanes dropped 40 tons of bomb because there was an ISIS stronghold back in Iraq. There's an island in the Tigris River that was infested with ISIS terrorists who, behead Christians right and left and sell little Christian girls and boys into slavery for sex. They crucified, behead anybody for anything. They just beheaded several little children because they refused to renounce their faith and love for Jesus Christ. So they cut these little children's heads off, right? And they like to do it in front of their parents, so their parents lose their mind. So, I'm looking at that, and, we're trying to deny ISIS or ICE or Daesh or ISIL. Obama used to call them ISIL. I call them ISIS. Arabs call them Daesh. But, we just did something really important. We denied Daesh in Iraq, our Special Operations Joint Task Force, Operation Inherent Resolve. We just ended, because we carpet bombed, we just ended a terrorist training camp and facility and these ISIS soldiers that were preparing to go out into the world and to kill, murder, maim, destroy the lives of innocent people. And you have to remember, we have diplomatic facilities and we have soldiers and businessmen and civilians that are all over the Middle East. And they're looking for them to murder them. That's important. That's important that under President Trump, because it never would have happened under Obama. And it certainly wouldn't happen under a Democrat leader in the White House. But Trump said, go ahead, carpet bomb them, wipe them out. Thank God he did. In the meantime, I'm reading a report that two women that are Muslims plotted a massacre against law enforcement. One of them, her name is Noel Valencias, a convert to Islam, linked to a Muslim group here in America, a charity group. That's right, a charity group, the Islamic Circle of North America. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? The Islamic Circle of North America. It's a relief organization. So she was tied into that. They send lots of money to Muslims overseas and around the country. Beautiful, right? Sounds so peaceful. Anyway, these two women involved in that have now pled guilty to planning a terrorist attack against law enforcement and against the United States military. They pleaded guilty on August 23rd. It says, report, I'm quoting from the Washington Free Beacon. Two New York residents inspired by radical Islam pleaded guilty on Friday to planning a terrorist attack using explosives against law enforcement there in New York and military targets throughout the United States. Great. So Muslim women aren't busy enough, I guess, raising their children and doing what they're supposed to do. They're out there planning attacks against law enforcement and against our United States military all over the United States. And in the meantime, I read that in Dallas, two Muslims were taken off a plane. They're linked to CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. And apparently, there was some concern that there was going to be a terrorist attack. So, two Muslim men were escorted off because you know what? I don't have all the facts yet today, but apparently they were waving and gesturing to another group of Muslims getting on another plane. And I guess the crew of this American Airlines flight got concerned, and I guess alerted the U.S. Department of Transportation. Really, really concerned. So I thought, wow, they see some gesturing, some waving between Muslims getting on board one plane and another getting on another plane. And some people there at American Airlines were concerned and frightened about it. Makes sense to me. And then in the meantime, CARE gets upset with President Trump and tells Twitter that President Trump's Twitter account should be suspended because the president tweeted out that Ilhan Omar, a member of AOC plus 3, will win the Republican Party, the great state of Minnesota, which I believe is possible. I believe that Ilhan Omar, and the fact that she married her brother to get into the United States illegally so her brother could get into the United States unlawfully, it seems to me that based on the fraud that she's committed with her campaign funds, her unlawful marriage, then lying to the American people about who she was married to and was not married to, and on it goes. I mean, I just, there's corruption. There's corruption in Somalia, the country from which she came from. People are being murdered on the streets of Somalia. You have terrorist Islamic gangs vying for control of neighborhoods and towns and villages and cities. You've got all kinds of corruption where Ilhan Omar is from. And here she is in the United States, apparently came here illegally, which is why she married her brother, is not using her real name, using a phony ID, somebody else's name, another family's name, and apparently has misused campaign funds. That ought to get her out of office in a heartbeat, but it doesn't. She's not being censored. She's not being escorted out of the Capitol building because the Democrats are providing her cover. In the meantime, she spouts off anti-Semitic and anti-Christian tweets. You recall the tweet against Vice President Michael Pence for his Christian faith. So, it's incredible how the Democrats continue to cover for Islamists that support Islamic terrorism. Remember, it was also Ilhan Omar who suggested that the United States government and the British government and the United States Army is not at all different from Al-Qaeda. So, interesting. So here we have young people who are told that they should go out and protest in Washington, D.C. because the earth's coming to an end. When we have Islamic terrorists being covered by liberal progressives around the country because it would be Islamophobic to actually express any concerns at all about any possible Islamic threat to the community or to the country, but we're going to keep doing it here on the Denice Gary Show anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Frugatti's. Frugatti's restaurant, great restaurant, the best Italian restaurant in all of Kern County. It was voted so it won the Best of award. Once again, year after year, it continues to win. I want you to go to Frugatti's restaurant. It's right here in Bakersfield on Coffee Road. The best Italian food. Ralph Frugaletti is the owner. Wonderful guy. He's got a fabulous menu that's strictly for those of you trying to lose weight and are very health conscious. So he's got a regular menu and he's got that health and fitness menu right there. Fabulous, right? All of the food is cooked fresh. All the bread is baked right there on the premises. They've got this beautiful brick oven that was imported from Italy. Anyway, it's just fabulous. You need to go there, have dinner at Frugatti's restaurant. And before we go to our next commercial, I just wanted to say this to all of you who might not understand ISIS's threat. al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, has resurfaced again on social media platforms. And he's calling for the death of Americans, for the death of infidels, right? Interesting. So he keeps calling for the death of infidels. He's managed to stay alive, apparently. And so he has resurfaced. And this is why it's important that Donald Trump, the Republican president, has done the right thing and absolutely destroyed this island of activity in the Tigris River. And I just hope that you will thank President Trump for giving the green light to the U.S. military to continue to work to end Islamic terrorism around the globe. Because if they get reconstituted, they will be right here in the United States of America attacking us. And I want you to now, let's talk about Anita's products. You know, those fighter aircraft that bombed that island, they probably had nuts and bolts from Anita's products in Tehachapi, in the beautiful mountains of Tehachapi. Ladies and gentlemen, Anita's products can handle all of these major defense contracting companies' top secret projects. Anita's products, 661-822-6873. Scott Baker, former Marine Corps officer, is the man you want to call. Again, he is the owner of Anita's products, and whatever you need, whether it's to launch a satellite into space or to build another warplane for the United States Air Force, Anita's Products is the company you need to hire. Again, number is 661-822-6873. Call Scott Baker. Tell him you heard his commercial on the Denice Gary Show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this broadcast. I hope you'll support our work here. We are not tied to any agency or organization. We are strictly independent, and I hope that you will send your tax deductible, that's right, contribution to the Middle East Initiative. My broadcast is the Denice Gary Show, but my 501c3 is the Middle East Initiative. Send your support today. It's tax deductible if you put on the money order the Middle East Initiative, or you write the check to the Middle East Initiative and send it. Oh, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Been a long day today. It's a Monday, right? It's a Monday. Send it to my post office box, 82162, Bakersfield, California, 93380. P.O. Box 82162, Bakersfield, California, 93380. We need to hear from you today. So thank you for supporting this public broadcast, the Denice Gary Show, and have a great and blessed evening. Thank you. This is Denice signing off.